Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the World Wide Web. This is a review of Transformers: The Last Knight. I'm not putting the effort of staging anything at home and using my good cameras and everything else. I'm just going to do it in my car because I'm going to put as much effort into this review as they did in this film, to be honest with you, when it comes to setting it up. I will first start off, I'm going to go straight into the film. I'm not going to go into any big setup, but I'm just going to try to figure out a way to do this review just because I was very, very disappointed in it. I figured that after the fourth film, they would try to make amends. And ultimately, what the problem with this film is the story, the storyline, the scripting. I don't know how much of it was ad-libbed during set staging, if they changed it. I don't know. It might have had a great script originally, but it felt like it was a whole bunch of different films at once. It felt like it was kind of in the beginning, they talk about the Knights of the Round Table and Transformers helping out and how Transformers have influenced history, which was okay. And then they threw in the whole situation with Merlin, and what was the problem with the whole film, and I'm going to jump around because I'm just going to do the main points here, is they try to infuse too much comedy into this at serious points that made no sense. It was almost a joke. It was almost like the writers, or maybe Michael Bay, said, you know what, this is the last film I'm going to do, and I'm just going to do whatever I want. I don't care what the fans think. I don't care what anybody else thinks. We've made these films. We've made so much money. People are going to watch it anyways, and we don't care. But that's not the point. You want to create something that has a good storyline, or something that's interesting, like the first film. The first film was the best one, and yet still, you have 4 more films and you can't get it right. And some points about the film that were, I guess, misleading or not great was the young girl you see in the advertisements. She is hardly in the film. She doesn't have much of a point to it. They throw her at the end of the film, and she doesn't add anything to emotion. I really thought they were going to have her have a real strong emotional tie as a daughter figure to Mark Wahlberg, because in this film his daughter's not around. He's like he's very much a wanted man who's helped out the Autobots, and the government's after him. They have a government force that is after the Autobots, like in the fourth film, or all Transformers. The first ones were called Cemetery Wind, I believe they were called, or something like that. This one was like a low-rent version of that group. Kelsey Grammer led the last ones. These were just whatever. What else can I... the one good thing I can say about it is special effects. Special effects are good. Big scenes. Michael Bay knows how to shoot those dramatic action sequences, even though some of them look very out of place and it's hard to see what's going on. It's pretty impressive. That's the only positive I have for it. Optimus Prime is hardly ever in the film. He's hardly ever in it. When he's a villain in it as a promoter, he's hardly ever to it. What snaps him out of it is Bumblebee gets his voice back, because they start to have this really interesting battle, which I wish was longer, and Bumblebee says, "It's me, it's Bumblebee." And it's almost felt like that Batman versus Superman moment where he says Martha. That's what I felt. It was like, oh, it's Martha again. And whoever's watching this, a particular person's watching this, knows how I feel about that whole Martha situation. It drives me crazy in that film because it was just so weak. Another disappointment was Megatron was hardly ever in this film. They don't explain how he got changed. There's some connection between him and Quintessa along with Optimus Prime, because Quintessa in the film, who's supposedly be the big bad but was a big waste, she has some mind control. She's supposedly a god or a creator of the Transformers, and she leaves a red mark on Optimus Prime's face, and you see the same mark on Megatron's face, but it doesn't explain how Megatron met up with her, and she probably reconfigured his body or did something. And so Megatron was a real waste in the film, which was a shame, because we were hoping that he'd get back to being a real big bad, and he doesn't. Even the ending of him in the film is very non to the point. It's a waste. His crew of Decepticons is basically a joke. Their introduction is very cliche-ish, almost like when they do the introduction in that movie Death Race, that has their names pop out in these graphics, still shots. Even what they did in Suicide Squad. I believe they did some introductions that are kind of like cartoonish. They've never done the other films, so I didn't understand it. There also is just with the Autobots were almost pointless. They were a side note. They weren't as in the fourth film. The only thing I liked for the fourth film with the Autobots was, with these three other characters, Hound and some of the other ones, is they had some personality. In this film, they're hardly ever around. They're not much into the story. Even at one point, Hound sees Optimus towards the end and says, "Oh, I didn't get a chance to say hi." It's like almost an inside joke saying, we're hardly even in this film, and it's a Transformers movie. And what bothered me about the movie was, it's called Transformers: The Last Knight. We find out that Mark Wahlberg is the Last Knight, and he doesn't do anything that gave to that title. This is a Transformers movie, and they focus so much on him on it, and he doesn't do anything that is epic, in my opinion. He has this one moment with a sword because they find this relic from, I assume, is a missing knight or a very older Autobot that lands on Earth. And he has this one moment where he stops an Autobot from hitting Optimus, or an old knight. 12 Knights supposedly, round table, and the connection to that. And I don't know, it just wasn't that strong. The actress who plays Vivian supposed to have a key role. She's a descendant of Merlin, and the whole point of this is that Merlin had the staff that the knights, the Autobot knights had, that it was taken away from Quintessa. This is supposedly a device or a tool that can bring life back to Cybertron, and this is the whole mission. And it was okay. It wasn't greatly done, but Cybertron comes back to Earth. It was basically Transformers 3 all over again, and it basically is in the same space as Earth, which made no sense, because if something like that, a planet that big, which didn't seem as big as it did in the previous film that had introduced it in number 3, it would have taken us off our whole balance. It would automatically destroyed the Earth. But they have this whole battle while this is going on. It's trying to siphon off the geothermal energy from the planet. The film was all over the place. It even got to a point where it talked about how Transformers were involved in historical issues, wars, all these different things. It was just very weird. It was just like, it was trying to throw so many different plots in there that you can't find one reason to say, okay, this makes sense. And at one point we lose the Transformers all over. You got 30 minutes of just the humans doing their thing. It just didn't feel like a Transformers movie, if you want to consider what a Transformers movie should feel like. I'm at a loss of words. It was just not that good. All I have to say is that you're going to probably see a lot of reviews out there, people saying there's how they feel about the film. I'm tongue-tied. It's how bad it was. If they tell you this film was good, or they give you excuses, I'm telling you right now, these are folks that, I don't know what their motives are. They probably got paid. They probably got a free press credential to go see this movie, and they feel bad that they have to say something good about it because it's going to affect them getting their exposure to these movie studios, whatever. Don't believe it. If you want, go see the film. Don't see an IMAX. They've been pushing this thing for IMAX for a while because this is the only thing that will hold it, the visual. You have to have more than just great visuals for a good movie. You have to have a good plot. If you're going to do comedy, it has to be funny. It wasn't. Cogman, who was the butler, was weird, zany, but it wasn't that great to stick out. Anthony Hopkins, I don't know what he was doing. He was like the crazy old grandpa. He was just very weird. If you want to see that crazy old grandpa with Anthony Hopkins doing that, then go see it. I may say don't waste your time for it. I'm not going to even buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray, I'll be honest with you. I struggled to buy the fourth one, but this one, nah. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to spend my money on it. It's just all over the place. It was just very weird. I don't know. I feel bad for all the folks that put their time and worked on this movie. I don't know what Michael Bay was thinking, or Steven Spielberg, or any of these folks. They have not edited this video and said, wow, this makes sense. They couldn't have. And it's a shame, because you have talent. You've done some good films before, Michael Bay, and I don't know what happened here. I couldn't connect with the actors. They had some cameos of other characters in previous films. I just felt like everybody just cashed it in and said, oh, it's the fifth film. We're not going to do this anymore, and we're just just don't care. So that's the end of my more extensive review. I wasn't expecting to go this long, but I had to justify and go back and forth on the pros and cons, and I found more cons than pros. So if you want to see the film, it's up to you. I'm not going to encourage it. I'm not going to endorse it anymore. But that's what it is. It was not a very good film. It was very disappointing. I couldn't wait to get out of that theater. It was so bad. So that's it. Until my next review, hope you all have a good weekend, week, whatever you got going on.